Hi, welcome to the Nursing Dose with your host, Dr. Farah Laurent. And today I have a very special guest. I have Trish Lindo, the fabulous Trish. She's going to introduce herself in a minute, but she's going to be a speaker at the Nurses Making Business Moves conference. And I'm so excited to have her there and to have you on today. So, welcome, Trish. Tell the people about
Hey, hey everyone. I'm super happy to be joining you today, Dr. Farah. I just like saying your name, Dr. Farah, you know. And I'm happy to be a speaker in Nurses Making Business Moves, a little bit about what I do. So I'm a social media strategist and advisor for small business owners. And I love to talk about content. It's all about how to create great content across your social platforms, not just on one, because we need to diversify. I love that word, by the way. That's what I do, and I help nurses, and I also help founders and small business owners and executives as well. So that's the work that I do, and I'm going to be sharing a little bit more about how you can show up across social media at your conference. So I'm
it.
excited for that, and I'm looking forward to meeting all of you out there, all you nurses.
Yes. And of course, you definitely want to come and vibe with us and meet us in person, both
Yes.
Trish and I, and all the other fabulous speakers and attendees who will be there. Because there'll be people from pretty much all over. It's international. People are coming from the UK, Australia, Canada, and all over the US. So, for those also who may be new to this channel, I'm a nurse career coach and also nurse entrepreneur and the host of course, Nurses Making Business Moves. And some of my favorite topics, of course, are talking about business, talking about making money moves, and visibility and branding. So let's get into it. Let's talk about kind of just early journey of how you started your visibility, branding, and content creation. I know that you used to work for LinkedIn and these big brands. So if you want to talk a little bit about that background and how you started.
Yeah, absolutely. I came up during a time in my career where visibility wasn't part of the conversation, right? It
Mhm.
was just what you did in order to ensure that you got your next job, which was you got on LinkedIn, you had like some sort of, way of creating content, whether it was on IG or Facebook at the time. And so I was just super grateful just to kind of come up during that time. And I had the opportunity to work for Oprah. I've also worked at BuzzFeed, Tasty, and as you mentioned, I worked for LinkedIn. So all of those were content creator opportunities where I was working with creators. I was also generating content of my own. I had a pretty viable Instagram as well. I was a fashionista on Instagram for many years,
You
creating
still are.
content. Thank you. you know, I just love content and I love social media. I'm on all the platforms. I'm on IG, I'm on Threads, I'm on TikTok, LinkedIn, Pinterest, and YouTube. So, and
Mhm.
I'm constantly consuming information, constantly looking at those social platforms. Because as we know, they're always changing, right? The
Yeah.
algorithms are always changing. The type of content that resonates with your audience is always changing. So I like to stay on top of that. And my career has sort of lent itself to that experience. And, I think that most people just don't realize the power of creating content
Yes.
to grow their visibility. Whether you're looking for a job, whether you're looking to start a business, whatever the case may be, content is king or queen. That's what it is now. That's the game.
Yeah. And I love that you mentioned all those things, because obviously my background as a nurse and a lot of nurses and other entrepreneurs can relate to this, right? A lot of times we just have like heads down working and we're like, yeah, if we just work harder, we'll get promoted, we'll get more money, or we'll get these opportunities, like whether it's speaking or whatever it is you're trying to do. But it
Right.
doesn't always happen that way, right?
No, no.
And Obviously the economy, there's a lot of changes going on. A lot of companies are laying off individuals. And, I experienced my own layoffs and stuff, even despite being a nurse. And people are like, how are you getting laid off as a nurse?
Yeah,
Well, it happens, especially when you're in like higher leadership positions and things like that. So
right.
I quickly realized, I wanted to make a bigger impact in nursing and to get my message out there because I am quite, you know, contrarian thinker when it comes to nursing. I'm
Yes.
not the typical, traditional follow the narrative, the straight path.
Yeah, you're a disruptor. You're a
Yeah.
disruptor.
I'm like,
Yeah.
let's shake it up a little bit. So really, my big message to new nurses is you can do whatever the heck you want. You don't have to follow the traditional route because I started out in the ER, and that's really been my big message. And I'm like, how can I get that message out there? Well,
Yeah.
the easiest way was to create content. I started on LinkedIn, and a lot of people are hesitant because of their employer and all this, right?
Yeah.
What would you say to them? Because I know what I would say to them, but like, what would you say to the person that's hesitant? Like maybe they have an idea of what they want to do, but they're not quite sure. I always lean towards, I always tell them like you have to start building your brand before you even know what you want to do. So like, what is your take on that with the employer piece?
Yeah, I think that we all should empower ourselves to be our own advocates and champions for our own careers and have
Yeah.
our own agency, first of all, right? When I'm talking to clients and who express their concerns about their employer, maybe seeing their posts,
Mhm.
I would say the best thing to do is to talk about what you know, right? Talk
Mhm.
about your expertise, talk about industry, that sort of thing, because no employer is going to say, "Oh, I can't believe you're talking about that." And it's like, "Oh, well, it's the industry. Like this is what I know. This is my own experience."
Yep.
It's another thing if you are creating content that's disparaging your current employer, then yeah, I can see where you have some issues there. That sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then there are some companies that you work for that you do have to sign a document ahead of time that says that you will not post disparaging content about the employer, or you will not work or partner with, maybe like another competitor or something like that. So I think you kind of really need to look at the fine print, especially now we know so many people have been laid off. So many people have been impacted by various industries and not having work. And so whenever you get that opportunity, you're like, hey, I'm just ready to sign on, but be careful what you're signing because you could be signing something that basically says that you can't create content about anything,
Exactly.
so
Yeah.
definitely have those conversations ahead of time and
Yeah.
then focus on creating content that it leans more towards your expertise that's undeniable, right? No one can argue with you about your background. Like, that's like
Yeah.
somebody telling you like, yeah, you can't talk about like, medicine,
Yeah.
Dr. Farrar. You're like, "Mm," you know, you're
Well,
like,
I
yes,
have a couple takes on it. Yeah, right. And that's exactly what it is. I think, because that's probably, I think, one of the biggest barriers to a lot of individuals that don't want to create content. Number one is fear. I think they're just fearful. They don't want to do it. They don't want to show up on video and stuff, but they're always concerned about the employer. So I always tell them, listen, your brand is forever, right? You're building something that is forever, that is
yes,
like sustainable, that's going to sustain you, your career, and whatever it is that you're going to pivot into. And
exactly.
I think that's what your brand does, right? If you're, like you said, true to your expertise, you're not saying anything negative, you're just speaking your thought leadership, and it might be different. It's okay to have a different opinion on things. In fact, I
Right.
encourage you, if you do have a difference of opinion on a particular topic, talk about it. Talk about the rationale.
Yeah,
Give your stance on it because that's how you differentiate yourself on these social platforms. Because
absolutely.
everybody's trying to get on the same bandwagon, saying the same stuff, and people are tired of it.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, there's no power in sameness when it comes to creating content and building your brand.
Right.
Your brand stands out because of you. You know,
Mm,
you're the uniqueness. You are, one of my favorite quotes is "You are your own best thing," and that's by Toni Morrison. And so I think
mhm.
sometimes, and I know social media plays that role, is that you get on social media, you see people doing however they're creating content. You're like, well, I'll do that too in
Right.
order to, gain followers or gain the prestige and the visibility that you're looking for. But really, social media and creating content and building your own brand is building something that is unique to you. However, you tell your story, it's about storytelling. However, you tell your story, that is the differentiator between you and the next person who's creating or building their own brand. And I think sometimes, I know it's really, really hard in this day and age. It happens to me too. I see somebody and I'm like, man, I wish, and then you think, oh, I should do the same thing, but gosh, that's boring,
Yeah, I mean,
so boring.
so yeah, somebody's bringing up AI in the comments, about what is your vision with AI in nursing for employees and employers. And again, I'm not sure if you mean um, in the context of just healthcare or content creation or branding, but I'll share a quick little thing. So yes, AI is here. It's not
It
going
is.
away. It's either you're adopting it, using it in a certain way, or it's not going away. So to nurses or anybody who's watching, I will say yes. There are some things about AI that I think are important to adopt just to like have uh that tech skill set, because even some employers are looking for people with
They
uh,
are.
basic AI skills, right? Because it's not going away and it's efficient in some ways. In healthcare, I'm not going to get into it, but they're using it in like diagnostic tools, like even like for mammograms, right? To
Right.
detect things earlier. So obviously there's
Right.
some like very good benefits of it. And I'm not going to get into the negatives, it's all perspective. But, in terms of content creation, I use AI for ideation and some things.
Okay.
But my view on AI in terms of content creation and branding, I think the people who use AI effectively, but also show up more authentically
Mhm.
in person, like video, like how such we're doing now, which is
Right.
live. I think live,
Exactly.
showing up live is going to be a game changer in content creation. And you already see it with a lot of these live streamers because
Yeah.
you cannot fake lives. And
Yes.
people are going to start craving more real content and they're going to get tired of the AI generated stuff. So I don't know
I
what your thoughts are on this. Yeah.
I completely agree with you. I don't think there's a way for us to escape AI at all. I think
Right.
we have to embrace it and leverage it in a way that feels authentic to us and whatever content that we're creating. I use AI tools to help me create content and, like you, ideate and that sort of thing. But I don't use it to, if I'm writing like a text post or something like that, I don't use it to create my post. I may use it to pull stats and that sort of thing, which is very efficient. But I think that one of the things that people are getting a little bit too much in, especially as we talk about like the AI slop, it's the convenience of it, right?
Mhm.
And I don't think that growth can happen in convenience. Like, you can't build an authentic brand if you're using AI to generate everything for you, because that's not authentic. So I completely agree with you, doing lives. I know that on TikTok and even on LinkedIn, lives are a big thing, because it's a way that you can connect with people in a real way. People can
Yeah.
ask you questions, you can answer back. They can see like, oh, okay, this is a real person. And I think at the end of the day, we all need that human connection.
Yes.
It's about our connectivity and how we think as human beings, and how I can look somebody in the eye and see like what they're dealing with, and how I respond to that in a human way. AI can't adopt that. It just
Yeah.
can't. Well, not yet anyway, but it cannot adopt that.
Yeah.
And I think we
No.
have to lean into our humanity first, in order to ensure that we get through this evolutionary phase that we're in. I call it obviously it's like the second industrial revolution, but we have to lean into our humanity.
Yeah, I love that. And somebody's mentioning storytelling in the chat as well. Yes, I truly believe storytelling is powerful. And why is storytelling powerful? Because again, the foundation of that is that human aspect that you're talking about, and
Absolutely.
connecting and relating to people on a human level. Like that's
Absolutely.
why sometimes I have to go back and like I'll share my story about how I started in nursing, the challenges, the
Yeah.
difficulties, so that people can relate. So if
Yeah.
people can see themselves in your content, whether it's video, posts, whatever you're talking about, that's how
Yeah.
you create that connection. That community starts to build, which
Yeah.
is that almost like that tribe that you build as you're building your brand.
Yep.
And that's what I've been creating with nurses making business moves, right?
Yes. You do a
Um,
great job with that. You do a great job of building community by being yourself, sharing your expertise, and
Tell
that's
me
what
more.
we all should be doing this. You're the blueprint, Dr. Farrer. You are the blueprint, you
Well,
know.
thank you.
Yes.
That means a lot coming from you. And we did not script this because this is live. And it's funny
It's live.
because so Trish has a podcast as well, called Too Ambitious Podcast that I've been on, and then of course the Nursing Dose with Farrah, which I'm thinking about changing the name. I put out a poll. The two top names were Nurses Building Brands, and
Okay.
then the Nurse Brand Effect. So
Ooh.
not sure which one you
Okay.
like, but I think I'm gonna switch it over to something with branding because I feel like
Yeah, it makes
it's
sense.
it's my core messaging that bridges everything together. But anyways, moving on to the podcast. I'm someone who's I don't send out questions. So when people come to the show sometimes they'll say, "Oh, do you have the questions?" and da 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 da. And I'm like, "Nah,
We're just vibing, man. We're just gonna go for it.
we're just
We're
having a."
gonna be two humans having a conversation,
But some people get so nervous about it,
They
right?
do. They
And
do. They do.
I always tell people that have that nervousness about content creation, especially videos and lives.
Mhm.
I always say, no matter what you're trying to do, because before you start creating content, this is the biggest message I'll say. You have to decide why you're doing the
Yes.
content,
Yes.
right?
That's it.
What is the why behind it? What's the purpose and impact? And what is like the end goal? Obviously, for me, it's like a long game. It's brand building, it's creating
Yeah,
community, getting the message out
absolutely.
there. But you need to have like the core things you're talking about. Because I see too many people constantly talking about random things all of the time. And it
Yeah,
confuses the audience.
it's
Or
true.
they'll say, Farrah, I want to work on my brand. I want to create content. Like, what should I do? I'm like,
Yeah,
girl, we ain't got enough time. Like, we got to break this down. So, like,
yeah.
what are your tips before people get started?
Yeah, for sure. I'm with you on that. You have to know your why in the beginning. And, ideally, when I'm working with clients, they've already figured that out before they get to me. But I
Yeah.
have been in scenarios where I help them to flesh that out, And one of the things that I do is having obviously a conversation or two with them, be like, what is it that you're trying to achieve? And everybody's goals is completely different, right? I'm building my business. I'm trying to get a promotion. I'm leaving my company and I want to go off on my own. I'm writing a book. I want to be a TEDx talk, person. I want to
Yeah.
start a podcast. Everybody has a different goal. And so with those goals, then I create pillars, content pillars. And
Mm-hmm.
I say, these are the buckets that you live in. And I think it's important to say that when you're starting off creating content, do not try to do everything in the beginning because it's too hard, right? So you can focus on 1 to 2 things in your content pillar and write those. You're not going to become a great content creator and creating content consistently unless you create content. So you can't you can't think like, oh, I'm going to do it once and then I'm good. Like that's not how it works.
Yeah. They're
It's
like, I posted once and like, it's just not getting any clients or engagement. I'm
right,
like,
right.
you need
And I'm not getting better. Yeah, I'm not getting better at creating content,
Yeah, yeah.
Content creation is like working out, right? You can't go to the gym or run, a marathon one day and think, oh, well, I'm going to be great. Like it has consistency is key. So along with the storytelling is knowing your goals, know your why, know the goals, know what type of content you want to create before you create it. And then we look at the type of content you want to create. So
Yes.
video, text, images. Some people are better at, either one of those things. I personally prefer video because to me, I'm like, it's one and done. I'm like, I get in, I
Oh,
get out, whatever. But
I'm
then I
with you.
have some people, as I'm sure it's like they prefer writing. They're better at writing their stories. And I'm like, and I love that for you. My attention span, I'm out. Like, I'm just going to say what I need to say. And then I'm like, I'm done. Right. So
Yeah.
I would prefer creating videos in a more consistent way. That's just for me personally. So that doesn't mean that you have to do the same thing, but do what's right for you and do what's sustainable for you.
Yeah.
Because what you do, Dr. Farah, and what I do may not work, so
Yeah.
you have to kind of find
Yeah.
what works for you.
And it also depends on your season, right? So
Yeah.
if we're talking about, let's go from the business angle, because there's a lot of entrepreneurs watching, and also obviously nurses making business moves.
Hey,
um you know we're gonna talk about content, branding, marketing, all those things, but everyone is welcome to the conference. Like, you don't have to be a nurse to attend.
right.
Nursing students also can come. Like, you don't have to actually own a business to attend or want to be in business, but it's
Right.
going to give you foundational things of how to shift your mindset to think more like a business, whether it's in your career, the moves you make, so that you could be more strategic. And of
Yeah.
course, you're going to get to the source, right? Like, you
Yes.
have people like Trish Lindo. Instead of spending hours and months trying to Google, what type of content you should be making or whatever, you could literally have the source of people. You can ask them questions right then and there. So that's
Yeah.
really the difference of this conference. And it's not, like I said, just all nurses. But from this context of business, there's different seasons, right? So, like, you might look at it in the year of like a quarter, like first quarter, second quarter, whatever. Or if it's
Mm.
like marketing campaigns, you're trying to focus on something particular. So, like, for me, I'm creating a lot of content around the conference. And as you mentioned, I also love video. Why do I love video and lives?
Yeah.
Because it's the closest thing to being in person with someone.
Yes, it is. It
And
is.
I think that's what has helped create my brand, and also, get to about over 35K followers. And some people might be like, well, it's not about the followers. I mean,
I mean, it kind of is.
a little bit,
Right.
it doesn't equal conversion, but it
Right.
helps with your brand and
Absolutely.
networking and creating that community. So, yes, maybe in the beginning, I would say to people, don't worry if people are liking your post or not. In that sense, don't worry so much about that. Worry about the quality and the
Yeah.
value of the content. Later
Yes.
on, as Trish mentioned, once you get more consistent, you start seeing what's working, looking at metrics or what people are engaging with, then you'll have a better sense of what direction to go depending on the goal you're trying to achieve, right?
Exactly.
And then, are you even connecting with the comments?
Yes. I mean, engagement is key when you're creating content, right? And that is responding to your comments, because that's your community. They want to hear back from you. It's
Yeah.
like knocking on somebody's door and then not answering it. It's like your friend come over and you just completely ignore your friend. It's rude. So definitely, like, respond to your
Responding.
comments,
Yeah.
send a DM message, respond to your messages, that sort of thing. And that's across social media,
Right.
it's all about building community. And the most effective way to do that is to engage. It's not just content creation is not just a one-way street, right? It is a relationship that you're building with your community, and they're supporting you. You're supporting them. So, you come to my content, I come to your content, I support you. I,
Mhm.
may buy one of your products, your digital products, if that's what you're having, or come
Mhm.
to your conference and that sort of thing. It's like, come to the conference.
Come to the
So yeah,
March
there you
6th
go.
and 7th. 6, 7.
Yes, exactly. So come to the conference, So, and that's all about,
Yeah.
making those connections. It's not just about like networking and getting something out of it just for me. Sure, that's important, but it's about making those lifelong connections that you just really never know how far those connections can take your career and your business, and
Yeah.
especially nurses. I mean, nurses, you guys can literally work like, throughout the country, around the world, that sort of thing. So you never really know what relationships you can build,
Yeah.
from attending nurses making business moves or through your content.
Right. Like literally one connection can change your whole life. You can have a
Absolutely.
long life friend. Like,
Yeah.
and then you meet people offline. Like I've met so many LinkedIn people offline, and I'll be excited to meet you in person. Like I'm just excited because the energy is so different in person, but I still
Mhm.
feel like the energy is different in your content when it's video. Like people
True.
get to know your mannerisms, how you are.
Yeah.
It just hits different.
It's true. It's so true. I think that, what I think stops a lot of people with content creation is obviously, as we know, is fear, people judging you and that sort of thing. But we're in an age right now where we have to let that fear go, especially as women. Especially if you're building a business, you have to be fearless when you're chasing your dreams and trying to achieve your goals. You can't let fear stop you in creating your content that could drive business.
Oh
End
my
of
God.
story. You
Listen, clap to that. And listen, I'm in a business mastermind with Rachel Rogers. I posted it last time.
Right.
She said
Yeah.
something yesterday that was like so powerful. She's like, it's okay to let people see that you're trying, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like if you're out there, like I'm promoting the conference, I'm like, y'all, I need some help. Like come support, da da da. Ask
Right.
your community for things. It's okay. And
Yeah.
tell people that you're just starting out. People want vulnerability and
It's
you to
true.
be real. Don't be over
For sure.
here just fronting and not being real. Like just say,
Yeah.
"Hey guys, this is my first video. I'm super nervous. Please support. Let me know what type of content you like. Talk to your people.
Yeah.
They will support you. And you never know who's watching your
You
content."
never know. You never know who's watching. I also think that too, it's really a mindset shift as well. I know that their social media can be the wild, wild west, and people can, some people may come after you, but from my experience as a whole,
Yeah.
people are quite kind and very supportive, of whatever it is that you're doing or building. People want to see you win. Sure, you'll have a couple of outliers or whatever, but as a majority, you have people who want to support you and want to see you win and shine, you know.
Yeah. And
So,
and I appreciate you've been super supportive. We've been on each other's podcast, so I really appreciate your support. I appreciate you coming to be a speaker. And
right.
last words before we end it, because I actually have an info session right after this
It's very
for the
important.
conference. But like the other big thing is I forgot to mention this message is like once it clicks for you, like once you know why you're creating content, uh the value that you want to bring, the message, the whatever, it becomes bigger than yourself.
It
It's
does.
like that's when you're like, you know what? Yeah, I'm tired today and I don't really feel like doing it, but you know what? Maybe somebody needs to hear this today. So I'm going to go out and put that out there. And that's that consistency that builds
Absolutely.
credibility and trust, right?
Yes.
Because it
Absolutely.
doesn't matter if you want to get a promotion, like you mentioned, or in business, essentially, people trust people. The more they see you, because I'm always in people's feeds and face, I'm like, I'm going to be in your face. I'm going to talk to you about this conference until you get
Right.
your ticket. Like, that's it.
I
Right?
love I love it. You're always bringing the energy, Dr. Farah. You always bring the energy, and I love that for you. I love it.
Thank
It's
you.
but you're right. It's absolutely true. I think, and the final thing that I would say is when you're creating content, if it's hard for you to do it in the beginning, take some of the pressure off and create it ahead of time. Do it
Mhm.
on a weekend,
Yep.
write some of your posts or shoot like 5 videos in one, hand write some of the topics that you want to talk about ahead of time. Do it all ahead of time so that when Monday comes, you're not like, well, what am I going to post?
Mhm.
What am I going to share? I'm overwhelming. Or the other thing, or is also to schedule your posts ahead of time.
Yeah,
So
you could do
schedule
that.
them over the weekend, right? That
Yeah.
way, that takes the pressure off of you during the week, because one way or the other, that post is going out. Sometimes, you get busy, the post
Yeah.
goes out, and you're like, okay, that's up. And then go back and engage, because again, engagement is key, when you're building your brand and trying to make some business moves. Okay.
Exactly. And that's why you need to come learn more at the
Yeah.
Nurses Making Business Moves
Business
Conference. You
moves
can go to
conference.
nursesmakingbusinessmoves.com. I'll put it over here. Last time I spelled it wrong. You can check it out. Nursesmakingbusinessmoves.com. Go get your tickets before they sell out. Trish,
Yes.
where can they find you to connect with you?
You can connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm easy to find, Trish Lindo. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm also on all the other platforms under Trish Lindo Style, IG, Threads, TikTok. That's where you can find me. And so, yeah, but just, slide into my DMs. Let me know what you're thinking. I'm happy to meet a lot of you. I'm excited to meet all of you at the conference as well. To share, how basically you can show up and show out in your content, so yeah, so slide into my messages. Let me know how I can support you. And yeah, when I meet you in person, it's going to be just the best feeling in the world. And I'm super excited.
Yeah, it's going to be lit. It's going to be a lot of energy and fun. So we will see you
Bye.
in Tampa. All right.
See you
Talk to
in
you soon.
Tampa.
Thank you for watching. Thank you, Trish.
You're welcome. Bye,
Okay.
everyone.
Bye.